Welcome to Lesson 10 in the Learning Designer's Playbook. In this lesson, we focus on the Training Needs Analysis Survey, a powerful tool for uncovering performance gaps. Surveys can either provide actionable insights or generate misleading data. Today, you'll learn how to structure surveys that capture meaningful information. We will cover question design, bias avoidance, analysis, and reporting. A well-designed survey informs strategic training decisions. You'll see examples of both effective and ineffective survey items. We'll also discuss how to prioritize needs based on survey results. By the end of this lesson, you will be able to create surveys that drive performance improvements. Let's dive in and start designing surveys that matter. Our objectives for this lesson are practical and directly tied to your design work. You will learn to define the purpose of a training needs analysis survey. Next, you'll translate organizational needs into measurable survey objectives. You will practice writing effective questions that generate actionable data. We'll show how to avoid common survey biases and pitfalls. You will learn techniques to structure scales and response options clearly. You'll also explore strategies for increasing response rates and engagement. Analysis will help you prioritize learning needs effectively. Finally, you'll learn to report survey results so stakeholders can make informed decisions. By the end, you'll have a complete understanding of how to design surveys that drive meaningful training initiatives. Let's quickly recap Lesson 9. We covered a three-step needs assessment framework. First, define organizational goals to set a strategic context. Next, identify skill gaps that may hinder achieving these goals. Third, determine the resources required to address these gaps. This framework guides the design of surveys. Surveys are primarily used to verify skill gaps identified in Step 2. They help quantify the scope and importance of each gap. They also provide insights from employees and stakeholders. Understanding this context ensures that our survey design will focus on actionable needs. The first principle is clarity of purpose. A TNA survey should reveal performance gaps that training can realistically address. It should not just collect opinions or general satisfaction. Surveys help prioritize learning needs by impact and urgency. Data collected should be actionable, meaning it informs design decisions. For example, difficulty following a safety checklist is actionable, while I feel unprepared is vague. Well-designed surveys combine perception and objective performance indicators. They help determine which training initiatives will improve results. Clear purpose also prevents survey length from growing unnecessarily. When purpose guides design, surveys become decision instruments, not just checklists. Once organizational needs are identified, translate them into specific survey objectives. Begin by writing one-sentence objectives like, determine how often employees skip step X in the workflow. Objectives serve as the North Star for your survey questions. Define what actionable means for each objective, such as redesigning training or providing job aids. Map each objective to one or more survey questions to avoid irrelevant items. Use a simple matrix: objective, question, intended decision. This keeps stakeholders aligned and justifies survey length. Set thresholds for action, e.g., if 30% report low confidence, create targeted training. Include both closed questions for prioritization and open questions for root cause insight. Document these objectives in a survey brief to ensure clarity across the project team. Choosing the right question type is essential for gathering useful data. Closed questions like multiple choice, Likert scales, and frequency items provide quantifiable results. Open questions give respondents space to explain why issues exist and share examples. Behavioral questions focus on actions rather than feelings, which are more actionable. Frequency items, like daily or weekly, show exposure and practice levels. Avoid overusing open questions. They can be difficult to analyze at scale. Forced choice items reduce ambiguous answers. Reverse-coded items should be used cautiously. Strategic mixing of question types balances clarity and depth. Thoughtful question design improves both participation and data quality. Survey wording directly affects data quality. Start with neutral phrasing that does not suggest a correct answer. Leading questions bias responses and undermine trust. Double-barreled items, which ask two things at once, create confusion. Avoid jargon and acronyms unless universally understood. Keep sentences short to reduce cognitive load. Be explicit about timeframes when asking frequency questions. Social desirability bias may affect responses, so anonymity is important. Balance scales with labeled endpoints ensure clarity. Piloting helps identify confusing wording before full deployment. Response scales affect clarity and analysis. Use the same scale type throughout each section. Fully label all anchors, e.g., never, rarely, sometimes, often, always. Frequency anchors are preferred for behavioral items. Avoid ambiguous labels like occasionally without defined timeframes. Decide on odd versus even scales based on whether a neutral midpoint is needed. Group related items visually to reduce fatigue. Use white space and section breaks for readability. Mobile-first formatting ensures accessibility across devices. Clear instructions at the top of each section guide respondents. Who you survey matters as much as what you ask. Define the target population, all employees, a role group, or a pilot team. Ensure the sample frame matches the intended population. Decide on a census or representative sample. Distribution channels include email, LMS, intranet, or SMS. Each channel has trade-offs in reach and response behavior. Timing is critical. Avoid major events or high workload periods. Send an initial invitation plus one or two reminders. Ensure anonymity while allowing subgroup analysis. Communicate how results will be used to build trust. High response rates improve confidence in your findings. Keep surveys short, ideally 5 to 12 minutes. Clearly communicate purpose and confidentiality. Let respondents know how results will be used. Provide a clear deadline for completion. Send one or two thoughtful reminders, not excessive follow-ups. Incentives can motivate participation, but should not bias responses. Manager endorsement can encourage participation if framed appropriately. Mobile optimization increases completion rates for distributed teams. Finally, share a brief thank you message and next steps to build trust for future surveys. Analysis begins with data hygiene. Remove incomplete, inconsistent, or improbable responses. Compute descriptive statistics, means, medians, distributions. Cross-tabulate segments by role, tenure, or location. Prioritize items using importance and performance measures. Code open responses thematically for context. Triangulate survey data with objective metrics like performance records. Use confidence intervals to avoid overinterpreting small subgroups. Document assumptions and steps for reproducibility. Produce a concise findings, brief linking insights to recommended actions. Not every survey-identified gap warrants training. Prioritize using impact, frequency, and feasibility criteria. High impact, frequent gaps take precedence. Engage stakeholders to weight criteria for context. Document rationale for priority items. Consider quick wins to build momentum. For systemic issues, explore blended solutions, including process changes. Set metrics to measure training effectiveness. Use a visual matrix to communicate priorities. A transparent prioritization process ensures alignment and focus. Piloting is essential for high-quality data. Select a small representative sample. Observe clarity, comprehension, and usability. Collect both quantitative and qualitative feedback. Refine wording, scales, and flow based on pilot results. Test alternative phrasings for critical items. Assess reliability using appropriate statistical methods. Evaluate timing and distribution channels. Update instructions based on pilot feedback. Piloting reduces costly errors before full deployment. Reporting converts survey data into actionable insights. Start with a concise executive summary. Highlight top priorities and recommended actions. Include estimated resource needs. Use visuals like heat maps and matrices for clarity. Link each intervention to supporting data. Define success metrics for each recommendation. Include limitations and confidence levels. Suggest next steps and responsible owners. Communicate findings back to participants to build trust and encourage future participation. Many surveys fail due to common pitfalls or ethical issues. Avoid collecting unnecessary personal data. Protect any identifiers securely. Limit open-ended items to reduce analysis burden. Ensure accessibility for all participants. Avoid survey fatigue by limiting frequency. Incentives must not bias responses. Use plain language and clear instructions. Maintain transparency about data usage and retention. Obtain legal or HR review when collecting sensitive employment data. Let's recap the key principles. Surveys must have a clear purpose. Objectives should directly guide question development. Include both closed and open questions strategically. Avoid bias in wording and scale design. Ensure sampling and distribution reach the intended audience. Pilot surveys to confirm clarity and reliability. Analyze results systematically. Prioritize findings based on impact, frequency, and feasibility. Report results in a format stakeholders can act on. A cornerstone resource for this lesson is Will Thalheimer's Performance-Focused Learner Surveys. The book criticizes traditional smile sheet evaluations. It offers practical alternatives that measure meaningful performance outcomes. Thalheimer explains how to design effective question types and scaling options. He shows how to reduce bias in surveys. The book emphasizes actionable results, not just data collection. It provides templates and examples for immediate use. Designers can align survey items to specific training goals. This resource pairs well with our TNA framework. Reading it deepens your survey design expertise and supports evidence-based decisions. That concludes Lesson 10. You now know how to create TNA surveys that reveal performance gaps and provide actionable insights. Your next steps are to pilot a short, focused survey on a real project. Analyze the results carefully to prioritize learning needs. Share findings with stakeholders to inform decisions. Apply insights to improve or design targeted training initiatives. Document your process for transparency. Ensure ethical standards are maintained. Use this experience to refine your survey design skills. In Lesson 11, we will turn these prioritized needs into a structured curriculum with clear objectives and assessment alignment.